Hey everyone, it's Alison Heikkila. Thank you so much for joining me with my latest video for Imagine. We are going to play with Radiant Neon Amplify today. This stuff is so cool, and if you haven't played with it before, I can't wait for you to see what we're going to do. So I'm working with electric pink, electric yellow, and electric orange. There are other colors too, but I decided to go with the warm tones today. I have the Aztec pattern stencil from A Color for Life Designs, a piece of black cardstock, and I sprayed the back of the stencil with Pixie spray. Also, I'd like to point out that I am working on my Imagine craft mat. It's a silicone mat, and it kind of helps hold things in place. It's great when you're ink blending and things like that because the silicone kind of just holds everything down. Makes it easier. But I did want to use that Pixie spray because some of those areas are a little wiggly and I didn't want them to move around on me. I also have a paste spreader. You can use whatever you've got. If you don't have something like this, there are some silicone ones out there. There are plastic ones. You can use an old gift card, whatever you like. I just happen to really like this metal paste spreader that I've got. I am applying all three colors to the stencil. I wanted to go from pink to orange to yellow, and I can't even begin to explain how cool this stuff is. Right now, it just looks like, like a slick kind of dimensional paint, but when you see what happens after we start to heat it up, you are going to be shocked. It's so cool. And I haven't worked with it in a while. I kind of forgot that I had it because I've been playing with other things, and I pulled it out and I was like, oh, this is going to be perfect. So what I'm doing is I'm using my paste spreader just to kind of blend those colors down and push them into that open area that the stencil, the negative space of the stencil, right? I kind of overblended it a little bit too much. You kind of lose some of the yellow, you lose some of the pink. It becomes super orange. But when we apply the heat, you'll start to see those colors kind of come out on their own again. But I do add a little extra yellow and pink just to kind of bring them out and not have it all orange. So if I were to do this again, I would probably just go in with my palette knife in certain areas the way I'm doing it now. And then I'd have a little bit more control of where the colors were. Also, I might just eliminate the orange altogether and go with the pink and yellow because they'd automatically make orange. So a couple of different things that I might do, but I have got to say I'm very happy with the end result of this card. It comes out really cool. So I'm just making sure I have everything pretty much covered. And now I'm going to peel away that stencil really carefully. And you're going to want to wash these items immediately. I keep a basin in my craft room that's got a couple of inches of water in it, just so that if I don't have a chance to wash things immediately, I can just kind of leave them in there to soak and everything is fine. So you could see here how glossy and cool that looks, but that's not the final result at all, you guys. There are a couple of areas there that are a little thinner. I left them there on purpose because I wanted you to see the difference that thin areas have versus thicker. Thicker will produce slightly different results than thin, and you'll be able to see right now. So I've got my heat tool here, and it's nice and hot. Guys, this is so exciting. I can't wait for you to watch this. I love watching embossing powder melt, and this is a whole nother level. So do you see this? Do you see what's happening here? I'm going to age myself, which is okay, but I remember back in the 80s, I would decorate on sweatshirts and t-shirts and stuff, and we would use something called puff paint. That's pretty much what this is, but it's for paper. Do not adjust your screen, folks. This is turning into a puffy, textural, fabulous, I don't know what, but I am crazy about it. It looks so cool, and you can see how the colors are kind of separating out just a little bit, so you can see some more of the yellow showing, a little bit more of that pink popping out. But it is super soft, super squishy, and really cool. I left this whole bit in because I couldn't remove any of it. Look at how textured that is. That is so dimensional and cool. So you'll know when you're done puffing this stuff when there is no shine left. If you see shine, then you need to add a little bit more heat to get that dried up and puffed completely. Isn't that neat? Are you excited? I'm excited. Can you tell? So these are my little swatch tags that I made for all of my VersaFine Clair inks. And I was just going through to see which color I wanted to choose. And I decided to go with Summertime. It's a lovely shade of orange. This is a color I don't use too often, but it worked perfectly with this. I also grabbed the Enjoy stamp set from Honeybee Stamps, and we'll be using that with the Summertime VersaFine Clair ink. What I'm doing right now is I'm rubbing it right onto my skin. This is a brand new stamp for me, and I want to get that manufacturing residue that might be on it off, and just rubbing it on your skin is a good way to do it. There are other things you can do. You can use like a stamp chamois, whatever. I just find it easier to just use my arm. So now I'm going to stamp this onto just a piece of scrap white cardstock. Nothing fancy here. The VersaFine Clair is going to work on pretty much anything. I don't use it on shiny cardstock. I don't think I've ever tried that. You might be able to, but you know, you can experiment yourself with that. So just a piece of scrap white cardstock. I stamped it twice, just again because it's a brand new stamp and I wanted to make sure that it had a really good impression. But the Clair inks are just amazing for stamping, you know, detailed images, words, things like that. Now I have the coordinating die set. I'm going to cut that out with my die cut machine, and then we're going to work on our sub-sentiments. Look at how great that color is there. It really pops. I thought about using black cardstock and then heat embossing, but I really wanted to use a bright color, and I didn't really have a good color of embossing powder from Imagine that was going to stand out on black cardstock. So I think that this was a good way to go. I have a strip of white cardstock here, and I have my Nocturne VersaFine Clair ink. This is the best black I've ever used. If you need a good black ink, this is the way to go. It is just fantastic. So again, I'm wiping that off on my fingers just because it's a new stamp set. But it's rich, and you always get crisp images. And I know that if you watch my videos, I go on and on about VersaFine Clair, but it really is just a fantastic ink. And I hope that some of you folks try it. So I didn't like the way that I pushed a little too hard with the stamping. I squished the letters a little too much, so I'm just redoing it on the other side. I got a much better impression that time. It was totally user error. It had nothing to do with the ink or the stamp. It was just me pushing too hard. So I've got my paper cutter here, and we're going to just trim that off to be a short strip, and then I'm going to just remove some of the top there because it's a little too wide. And I'm very carefully lining it up, and now that's ready to go. So next up, I'm going to kind of figure out where I want this placed. And I was trying to decide if I wanted to hide those areas that were a little bit thinner, but it turns out it really didn't matter. Everything looks so cool on here. If you're focusing on the thinner areas, then I guess this isn't the card for you. That's all I can say. So I decided to just throw it right in the middle like that, and I think it looks really nice. So now I've got my white card base, and you guys, if you follow me, you know I don't really like leaving them white. So I decided to grab my fireworks spray in Rosebud. This is a really nice pink. I wanted to up the pink level on this card a little bit because I did lose it quite a bit because of the orange kind of taking over. So I am struggling a bit here with splattering. I don't know what my problem was. I just couldn't get it to splatter. I think I wasn't sticking the straw in deep enough, and I didn't want to spill everything. Here we go. Now we've got some splatter happening. So I'm going all the way around the entire perimeter of the card because it's going to help bring out the pink that's in the focal layer with the Amplify. Again, if I were to make this card again, I'd probably just not use the orange and just use the pink and yellow because they'd automatically make the orange. But, you know, I think it came out really cool anyway. So now I'm going to wipe this up. Again, I'm still working on my silicone mat. I want you guys to see how nicely this cleans up. I had some leftover Amplify on there, and it just comes right off. It's a really good mat to work on. So I've got a couple of areas that I feel like don't have enough splatter. So again, I'm struggle bussing it and I'm flicking on a little bit more of that pink. And now I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to just touch the straw to the card and get some dots on there so that we don't have to keep working at this. I could have cut my panel down a little bit more too, and more of that splatter would have shown, but I didn't want to lose any of that Amplify because I just really like how it came out. So now I'm going to start adhering my sentiment down. I'm using On Point glue, which is an adhesive that I love to use with tricky things like rhinestones and sequins. And I thought it was going to work really well here, but I'm going to be honest with you. This was not my favorite adhesive to use for this. I thought it was going to stick okay. I have that gigantic acrylic block kind of hanging out on top of everything so that it would help adhere to the Amplify. And I left it for a while, but it just isn't holding well enough for me. And if I'm going to mail this out to somebody, I want to make sure that it's going to hold really well. So I decided instead to use a dry tape adhesive. If you've got Tear It tape from Imagine, that's a great option for you. If you wanted to add even more dimension, foam tape would be a great option too, because a lot of times foam tape is super sticky. Like if you have a good quality one like from Thermoweb, that would totally adhere as well. But I did wind up just using a tape adhesive off camera. That's the card for today, you guys. I hope that you're excited to try Amplify yourself. I hope that this inspired you a little bit. I'm totally digging this card. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today. Be well, stay safe, peace out.